Good morning, family. Let's talk about chancery for a minute. And I'm sharing this so you can read this yourself. You can look up how they award. Oh, my bad. How they award damages in a chancery case. In chancery court, the Amendment Act of 1858 gave the court full jurisdiction to award damages. The situation before that was so limited that lawyers at the time commented as if the court had previously been able to do so. So, the court's right to give damages was reiterated in 1855, where the Court of Appeals in Chancery held that the plaintiff starts an action in a court of equity for a specific performance, and damages are also appropriate. The Court of Equity may choose to award damages. Okay? Now let me get to the part about how they look at things different from us. When researching, I want you to look up several sites regarding my statement on that they go off of judgment by the heart, the Bible, and Chancery Court. They don't go off of the laws. They go off of the people, and they go off of what the Lord has written in the Bible. Okay? Injustice, a violation of the divine law, or of the plain principles of justice and equity, wickedness, unrighteousness, may consist of a single unjust act, but more generally, when applied to persons, it denotes an habitual course of wickedness. Every transgression of the law is unrighteous. Why? Because the law given because of transgressions. Why? Because the people needed negative equity to learn and discern what equity truly is all about. Equity sees that as done what ought to be done. Okay, the law is nothing without equity. This is a quote, but it's true. The law is nothing without equity. Equity is everything, even without the law. Do you think that this has something to do with the fact of Psalm 98:9, wherein it is proclaimed that the Most High Creator God and Father does not judge the people with the law, but judges the people with equity? Have you even considered this means and the ramifications of it? For he is coming to judge the earth with righteousness. He shall judge the world and the peoples with equity. Psalm 98. Well, if the Creator and Father is using equity and not the law, why are you using the law at all? So let's go down. The Ten Commandments, the statute at large, codes, rules, regulations of the United States case law, and of course, international law and treaties such as Uniform Commercial Code, you name it. If it is any law form, and that law form is absent equity, then those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. Equity alone can do what the law never do alone. Perhaps the reason why the Creator, Most High God, and Father never uses the law to judge the people is because no one has ever been justified by the law. Galatians 3:11. And I will add that no one will ever be justified by the law, no matter the law form that is being played with. Again, why would you then elect, choose, volunteer to use the law in any form for anything that you want to accomplish? By now, it should absolutely make no sense to engage this kind of deed. For without equity, how does one using the law absent equity plan to bring justice, mercy, and forgiveness? Know ye not about the law? Absent equity has no such qualities for such provisions and considerations. Perhaps this is why so many people have gotten railroaded, as they would claim, in so many courtrooms, so-called courts of law. Yes, it's got to be rough when using the law absent equity, all when one is seeking relief, which can only be provided in and through equity. So then, how is seeking relief, recourse, and redress by the law absent equity? Okay, hold on. Do you really think that you can achieve relief from recourse for redress from the law absent equity? Do not be so benighted. The law alone in absent equity is in fact a death sentence, for it is purposed to govern the world of the dead, the estate of the prodigal son. It is equity in its negative form. Do not be fooled by folly, as to think you can find a way around this, because you cannot. The administrators of at law, at war, negative equity system will absolutely never allow for this, and that is a fact, their duty. I want everyone to research this, okay? Since the Creator, Most High God and Father does not use the law alone, then why are you? Why would anyone voluntarily elect to go against the will, equity of the Father God, and still hope to remain an heir of the will? Really, do you still think that you can be revested with inheritance already promised and given by going against the will of the one gave the inheritance in the first place? Moreover, if you are using some form of law absent equity, and since all law is negative equity because it intended to govern those at war and in the ways of commercial world of the dead, commerce, then how exactly whatever. God makes the heir, not man. God makes the heir, not man. The law is incomplete at its best without equity. For it is equity that brings in righteousness, which is justice, not the law. In other words, without equity, the law cannot and will not have anything to do with justice, because all laws can be manipulated to serve the purpose of the one writing the law for their advantage and the expense, sorry, it's early, of all others. Why? The law was given for only the one purpose, because of transgressions, and for no other reasons and purpose it was added. Galatians 3:19, meaning there was a time when the law was not present and there was only equity. So then why was law added? It was added so the mankind would become aware of existence of equity without law by and through the administration of its negative form. All so-called law courts are dealing in negative equity, no exceptions other than one from the original exclusive jurisdiction of Court of Chancery. So for those of you that think you can be revested with your birthright inheritance of a state through a probate court of law, well, that's not me. You hear laughing at you, but your own folly being reflected by the deeds that you are doing. Equity is the will and way of the Creator and Father, the Most High God. And this is what I'm talking about when I say they are using the Bible. Chancery uses God. They use better judgment by the heart, by the soul, not by the laws. That means equity alone, without the aid of any law, can and does bring all things that one is seeking for relief on its own. Furthermore, equity is the only way to administrate trusts of the private nature, not of the public. Those fictions are all under the law of man. There is no other honorable and righteous way to administrate a private trust other than with equity. If by chance you say otherwise, then you trust that you speak of is not private, but public, and can indeed be breached by the public at any time. Such a thing will never happen in equity. Now, this is the confidence that we have in Him, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. And if we know that He hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of Him. Chapter John 5:14 through 15.